So the Jets are back in London this year. They're actually back there tomorrow morning playing the Denver Broncos. And I've talked about how I went to London last year for the Jets and how the experience was incredible. And I do think I'm a big believer of if your team ever goes to London for a game, if they're ever playing at Tottenham, if they're ever playing anywhere in Europe, I think it's a great experience to go, follow your football team across the pond, because I had a great time when I went to London. It was awesome. Everything about it was great, the whole football experience, except for the game itself. Obviously, I'm a Jet fan, and it didn't really go well for my Jets last year. It's not going to go well for my Jets again this year. And I've told plenty of stories on this channel about the London experience, and I'm going to make a couple more videos about things that happened while I was there. But while it's prominent, while it's, the Jets are going there tomorrow, I figured I'd talk about one of the in-game experiences I had where I almost left the game in handcuffs. Now, this is a complicated story, and I'm going to explain every little bit of it. And to be fair, I probably, could have spent the night in a tank or something, but it all ended up working out. But here we go. Anyway, so London last year, London 2024, Jets playing the Minnesota Vikings. It's a 9:30 a.m. start here on the East Coast, but over there it was like 2:30. So we got up. We went straight to Tottenham Stadium because there's bars all around the area. And, we got after it. You know how the Brits do it. You know how, in England, they are heavy drinkers. They got their pubs everywhere. And that's what we did. We went over and we just, acclimated to the culture over there. We decided we're just going to get after this today. Jets football. You got to be fucking hammered to watch the Jets and enjoy it. So we get over there, and we're around Tottenham Stadium. We have a couple beers, and I don't know, let's just say, 4 days on vacation of nonstop drinking. Catches up to you after a while, and I pretty much went from hangover to, you know how it is when you wake up, you get a little hair of the dog, and you're right back into it. Well, that's how I was. And the problem is, I'm so excited about the Jets, I didn't really do a great job of pacing myself. So before we even got into the stadium, I would say I was a little bit tuned up, to be fair. And, a few too many adult beverages. Do yourself a favor, always pace yourself. I'm usually not like that, but I was excited, and I made a big mistake that day. Now, this doesn't really, it doesn't have too much to do with why I almost got cuffed, but, it definitely doesn't help my judgment. So, we're at the game, we're watching the football game, we're watching the Jets, and, things are going okay. And these guys we met the night before, who are also New Yorkers, who are also, we watched the Met game with, were at the game as well. And listen, I'll tell more stories about this weekend. I just think this is the best story of them all. So I'll explain where these guys came from in a future story. But anyway, we were talking to them. They were getting a drink right on the same level we were. And it was the end of the first half, right? And the Vikings had the football, so we're yeah, you know what? Let's just walk over there. Fuck it. We're not missing much. So we're walking over to the section where they are, and all of a sudden the Jets get the ball back, and we're oh fuck, maybe we should probably find a way to watch this. We should find a way to, see what's going on. So we start walking into different tunnels, and we find one tunnel, and the security guard's cool as hell. Guy couldn't have been nicer. He's oh yeah, you guys can stand here for the end of the half. It's all good. And it just so happened to be a handicap section where pretty much everybody was in wheelchairs and stuff. So we're hanging out there. We're watching the end of the half. I forget what ended up happening. I was that fucking tuned up. But while we were there, we ended up having a great conversation with one of the guys in the wheelchair that's sitting there. And he couldn't have been nicer. Cool dude. And it just so happens, I was telling him he was from Ireland. And I was telling him I have Irish descent. He was asking me what my family's name was. And when I told him, this is a small fucking world situation, just so happens he had the same last name. So it was absolutely crazy. We got talking, and whatever. Irish guy likes to drink. He tells us, you know what? Stay here the rest of the game. It was actually better than our seat. So we're oh, cool. This guy just invited us to stay here. So I go over, I ask the security guard, I'm hey man, do you mind if we stay here? He's yeah, no problem. You guys are cool. You guys are nice to me. So we get the okay from the security guard. We're good to go. Now remember, very important detail in this story. This is the handicap section. The handicap section. So I'm going to reiterate that. This is the handicap section because this is most likely why I got noticed where I was, and why the cops were in fucking full pursuit with the cuffs out ready to go. So second half of the game comes around, and, I've had a couple extra beers by this point. We ended up meeting up with those guys. We had a drink with them. I am just not, I'm on another planet at this point. We are watching the game with these guys in the handicap section, and it's going great. We're just hanging out. We're watching. The Jets drive right down the field and score a touchdown. And here's where things go awry. Again, I'm in the handicap section, and when the Jets score, I am running around screaming like, let's go. I am fucking fired up. I'm tuning everything up. And again, running around jumping in the section for the people that are in wheelchairs. So clearly something was wrong there. Clearly I did not belong there. So I kind of put the onus on myself that like, hey, probably should know better when you're sitting in a handicap section to maybe not be running around and jumping around like you're an Olympic fucking gold medalist. Not the place to be doing that. You stand out like a sore thumb. So I pretty much put this on myself. So I'll get right to it. We're watching the game, like we're watching the next drive, and all of a sudden there's like fucking 5 guys standing around the security guard. And they're all wearing police jackets. And the guy goes, "You, come here." Looking at me. I'm like, oh shit, here we go. And he goes, "Where are your seats?" I was like, I don't really know what I'm going to say here. I was not in good shape. I go, we're actually like over there. But we ran into somebody over here. And the guy goes, "Yeah, but you can't be here." So he starts like getting ready to take me away. And one of the cops pulls out his cuffs. And I'm like, oh, fuck, here we go. I'm already thinking like I'm going to have to use my one phone call because I was supposed to leave the next day to go back to New York. I was going to have to use my one phone call to call my boss to tell him I'm not going to be there on Tuesday because I'm being arraigned in a fucking British court. It was already like the shit that's going through my head at this point is absolutely ridiculous. Thank God, savior of the day, absolute savior, the security guard who was on the other side when this was all going on, because they were around another security guard. It was the other one. The guy who told us we could sit there comes flying over. He goes, guys. He goes, "This is on me. I told them that they can stand here. I said like they were allowed to be here." He's like, "Don't punish them. Like I was the one who told them they can be here." And the cops are just like, "Okay." And the cop looks at me. He goes, "Listen," and I can't do a British accent. I'm not even gonna fucking try because that would be so disrespectful. He goes, "Listen, you're in the handicap section. People don't like it when you're running around and jumping around in the handicap section. It just doesn't work like that." And I was like, all right, you're right. I'm sorry. I was excited. It's my bad. It's not a good look. I totally understand. They walk away. They send me back on my merry way. I watch the end of the game. The Jets obviously fucking lose because what story ends with the Jets ever winning? And it was a miserable experience at that point because, I went all the way to London for the Jets. Aaron Rodgers throws a pick when they're driving down the field and ruins my hopes and dreams. But Tottenham Stadium is beautiful. The cops could have given me a hard time. I could have been in a drunk tank that night. I wasn't. And I accept that. I made a big mistake that day. Don't ever make the same mistake I do. If you're in the handicap section, maybe don't run around and make it obvious that you don't belong there. Guys, have a great Saturday.